Hello everyone, it's me Elizabeth. Welcome back to another video. In today's video, I'm going to be going through all of the books that I mentioned at the beginning of this year in the one video I made of my physical TBR books. I wanted to go through that list with you today and go through. I have 3 different categories, okay? First category is I got rid of this book, or unhold it, as you want to call it. And then the second category is I haven't read this book yet, but I still own it. And the third category is I read this book. So let's go through the list. There are a couple of books that I mentioned within that video that I'm not mentioning here for various different reasons. So if you have watched that video and you're wondering why a certain book wasn't mentioned, there's just different reasons, because it's not like an actual novel or because of whatever. So I'm just mentioning the books here that I still own, don't own, and that I read. And I made a list here, so we're going to go through all of the books that I owned at the beginning of this year that I hadn't read at the beginning of this year. And we're going to go through all of them now and see where I'm at, see how good I've been reading this year, because let me tell you, it's not that good. So first I want to get into the numbers. So the books that I've gotten rid of is a total of 36. The books that I haven't read yet is a total of 59. And the books that I have read is a total of 17. And then there are 2 extra books that are in their own little separate category because they are actually books that I'm currently reading. So as a total number, that is 114 books. Now I did go through some stats of the current books that I have on my shelves, and I will hopefully be doing a second video where I go through all of the books that I have acquired this year. So like I mentioned before, 116. So at this current moment in time, I've counted all of the books on my physical TBR and I have 106. So I have gone down 10 books, but like, that's not very much, right? And then out of the books on my physical TBR, mind you, that I have acquired, we have 47 from this year. That's just the books that I acquired this year from my physical TBR. It's not the books that I've read and not the books that, like, I purchased second copies over, that type of a thing. It's just the books that I have not read. So starting off, the first book is Crimes of Grindelwald, the screenplay. If you can see my shelf up here, I do not own it anymore. I did get rid of that one. I just decided I'm never going to read it. I don't care enough. And I also got rid of Fantastic Beasts screenplay because I just don't care enough about it to have those books. So I don't own those anymore. Next, we have The Archive of Magic. I don't know if you can see this, but it's up here. It's right up here with The Case of Beasts as well. I kept both of those there, and I still haven't read either of them. So they're both on the unread category. And then we have The Narnian by Alan Jacobs, and this is a book that I did read. Now, the first couple books are books that I had on my TBR for the month of January or whatever. So I did end up reading a couple of these books. And if you see a bunch of red books at the beginning, that's why. So we have Narnia by Alan Jacobs that I read. And then we have 8 Cousins by Louisa May Alcott. I also read that one. The Unmaking of June Barrow by Adrian Young. I also read that one. And then we have War of the Altai by Robert Jordan. This one I did get rid of. I actually gave it to my dad. He was interested in it. I actually DNF'd this book. I attempted to read it and I was just like not really feeling it. And I just decided I have so many other things to put my focus on that I'm just going to get rid of this. Then we have Lord of Chaos by Robert Jordan. I read this one as well. We have New Spring, which is also by Robert Jordan. This is a prequel to the Wheel of Time. I have not read it yet. And we have The Rhythmist, that is also on the not read list. We have Warbreaker, that is on the read list. I did read that one. We have Fallen Kingdoms and Rebel Springs by Morgan Rhodes. I did DNF Fallen Kingdoms for the 4th time. So I've officially gotten rid of those books. I've decided it's not for me. We have Gardens of the Moon by Stephen Erickson. I did technically attempt to start this book at one point during the year and didn't make it very far, and I haven't picked it up since. So it's still on my TBR to read. Then we have Gunslinger by Stephen King, and I have, in fact, read this one. And then we have Lightbringer by Pierce Brown. When I was watching this video, I was like, wait, I hadn't read Lightbringer yet? What? Joking. Like, I didn't realize that when I filmed that video that I hadn't read that book yet. But yes, I read that book promptly, like probably in February actually, but I read it pretty immediately. It was like, have to read it immediately type of book. We have A Vintage Christmas, which I have not yet read, and I still have, but that one is on like a time crunch. If I don't read it by the end of this year, if I don't read it this Christmas, then I have to get rid of it because I've had it for so long and I haven't really touched it except for like once. Then we also have Farmer Boy by Laura Ingalls Wilder. That was one that I had started technically a sort of reread of, and I did actually read that this year. I did finish that. We have J.K. Rowling by, I can't remember the author, I'm not gonna lie, but I don't have that book anymore either because, yeah, I just got rid of it. Then we have Edge Dancer. No, I still haven't read this book. This book technically falls between, I think it's The Way of Kings. No, not The Way of Kings. What's it called? Words of Radiance and Oathbringer. I think it falls in between those two. But I didn't realize when I was reading the books that came in between those two, and then afterwards I just never actually like read it. So I still have yet to read that book. It feels wrong that I didn't read it in between, but whatever. Then we have The Dragon and the Raven by G.A. Henty, and this one is one that I'm getting rid of. It's actually in my currently getting rid of stack. I've just decided to let it go. We have Citizen Soldiers by Stephen E. Ambrose. This one is still on the TBR, and I have not read it. We have Blood of Elves by Andrzej Sapkowski. I did decide to get rid of this one. Because I was reading some of the content warnings and things on the storygraph for this, and I decided I don't think this book is going to be for me. So I just decided I don't really want to read this anymore. We have Taliesin by Stephen R. Lawhead. I have yet to read it, but it's still on the TBR. We have Assassin's Quest, which is book 2 in the Farseer trilogy. And again, I have yet to read it, but it's still on the TBR. We have Call of the Bone Ships and The Bone Ships Wake by R.J. Barker. And yes, I have read both of these. I've officially finished the Tide trilogy earlier this year. Next we have Mistborn, which I did read, and Well of Ascension, which I also read this year. Feel very accomplished that I finally have gotten to at least some of the Mistborn books. But then we also have The Hero of Ages, which is on my I haven't gotten to yet book list. We have All the Wrong Questions, Who Could That Be at This Hour by Lemony Snicket, and I have yet to actually read that book. It's still in my TBR. I did read the first chapter for a try chapter challenge, but I have yet to actually read that one. And we also have The Thief Lord by Cornelia Funk, which I have yet to read as well, but I still have. Then we have Modern Fairy Dwarfs and Other Nasties by Edith McBate, I think that's the author. I don't have that book anymore. We have Celtic Myths and Legends. I don't have this one either. And we have a book called Jane Austen, which I also don't have anymore. We have The Story of Alice by Robert Douglas Fairhurst, I believe. And I still have that one. I still want to read it. It's still on my TBR. I have yet to read it, of course, but it's still there. We have Inventing Scrooge. I don't have this one anymore. We have Music in the Middle Ages. I also don't own anymore. We have Sir Gawain and the Green Knight, Pearl and Sir Orfeo by J.R.R. Tolkien. Of course, I still own that, and no, I have not read it. We have The Celts, Life in a Medieval Castle, How the Irish Saved Civilization, and The Fall of the Roman Empire. I have officially gotten rid of all of those books. We have John Adams, Grimm's Fairy Tales, and Heidi, all books still on my TBR. We have Mary Poppins in the Park. I got rid of this one. We have Death on the Nile, Idols of the King, Emily's Quest, Road to Yesterday, War and Peace, Talesmen, Essays and Journals by Ralph Waldo Emerson. Don Quixote, and I've kept all of those. They're still on my TBR. We have Gulliver's Travels and Charlemagne. I got rid of both of those. We have My Cousin Rachel. I still have on my TBR. We have A Treasury of Hans Christian Andersen, which I have also gotten rid of. We have Christmas Books, Old Curiosity Shop, and 5 novels by Mark Twain, which I still own and are still on my TBR. And then we also have Oliver Twist, The Mystery of Edwin Drood. I own both of those. They're still on the TBR. We have Barnaby Rudge and Hard Times. I got rid of my copies of those because I want to get specific copies of Dickens books. So if you ever see a Dickens book that I got rid of, it's only because I want to get a different copy of it. And I'm weird like this, okay? Then we also have Fairies, Elves, Goblins, and the Old Stories and English Fairy Tales by Rosalind Kirwan. I have both of those, have not read either of those. But we have The Arthurian Tales by Rosalind Kirwan, which I did actually finally read this year, which is really exciting. And then I have Chasing the Prophecy, which is by Brandon Mule, and it's book 3 in the Beyonders, and I did read the rest of the Beyonders this year, and if you need a middle grade, Beyonders is the way to go. We have Origins of the Wheel of Time. I still own this one and have not read it. We have On Stranger Tides and The Forgotten Trinity. I do not own either of these. We have Life Together by Dietrich Bonhoeffer. Still own it, have yet to read it. We have Poems by C.S. Lewis. I got rid of this. We have C.S. Lewis and Mere Christianity. I still have this and yet to read it. We have The Hornblower Saga and A Curious Beginning. I have gotten rid of both of these, although my mom has A Curious Beginning, so if I am ever interested in it, I still have technically access to it. And then we have The Fall of Arthur, 20 Hours and 40 Minutes. I have yet to read both of those, but I have kept those. And this is one of the books that I'm currently reading, Seabiscuit by Laura Hillenbrand. We have The Time Traveler's Guide to Medieval England and the Little House series. So I still own these and have yet to read these. So with the Little House books, I have obviously the entire series. The first 2 books have been read. The 3rd book is actually on my September TBR, so hopefully I'll get to it soon. And the rest of them have yet to be read. Then we have The Three Musketeers and Ivanhoe. These were both read this year. Gone with the Wind, Penguin Book of Dragons, Tessa Diu reveals Wuthering Heights. I have yet to read those, but I've kept them all. We have Picture of Dorian Gray. I got rid of this one. We have Great Stories of the Sea and Ships, edited by N.C. White. I have this one on my TBR as well. We have The Aeneid, which I did get rid of. Les Miserables is in the category of books that I'm currently reading. We have Full Moon, Death Masks, and Grave Perils still on my TBR. Then we have Christmas Box, Memoirs of a Beautiful Daughter, both gone, not on my TBR anymore. We have Men in the Iron Mask, still on the TBR. We have Wilverdi's Gold, gone. Luncheon at the Boating Party, Martin Luther, still on the TBR. Celtic Mythologies, gone. Undaunted Courage, still on the TBR. Cottage by the Sea, Renaissance Maker of Modern Man, both gone. Bleak House, Narrow Road Between Desires, Red Country, The Heroes, Sharp Ends, A Little Hatred, still on the TBR. And then we have The Pariah, which was the DNF, so that is gone. And then we have As I Remember, which I did, in fact, read this year. So as I mentioned before, there are 36 that I got rid of, 59 that I still have to read that I kept, and 17 that I have read, and then 2 that I am currently reading. And that's a total of 114 books at the beginning of the year, and we are now at 106 books. Wait, if there's 114, 106. So it's technically less than 10 that have been, less than a 10 difference. I think I said 10 at the beginning, but it's less than a 10 difference. And I have a total of 47 new books that I have yet to read on my current TBR. So that is my current TBR status. I will be doing another video on the books I've bought this year because I technically started out the year with the intention of going a whole year on a book buying ban, and come to like May or April or something, and I broke the ban and haven't looked back since. I've been buying books since, essentially, at my point here. So I slowly like bought a couple books, and I was like, that's just gonna be a couple books and that's it. And then it slowly morphed into me buying more books and then buying more. And it all started with freaking Ella Montgomery because I can't help myself. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I don't know what this was. I hope this was entertaining for anyone who saw my other video. You can now have an idea of where all those books are at this point, and if I'm still reading them, still interested in them, have read them, whatever. So I hope you enjoyed this, and I will see you in the next one. I hope you have your own fun reading adventures.